Stormy season is only just now on our doorsteps, friends. Just on our doorsteps. And I assure you that this season is going to be the stormiest season ever on record. Between Earth events and weather events, there will be shockwaves sent across the planet due to these major events that are heading our way from July all the way through to the end of the year into January 2025. Everything from more hurricanes and tropical storms developing at one time than ever seen in history. Hurricanes coming in at the end of the season, maybe even after the season comes to a close, a hurricane popping up, along with major earthquake events and earth events happening in Japan, United States, between California up to the state of Washington, Vancouver, Canada, and so much is happening, friends, as these energies come whipping through, beginning now, especially in August, and taking us through till the end of the year. So today I break it down into three categories. First, my trance meditation with my guides, giving you the details that I see in my trance meditation. Some map scrying, where I would look at the map, get pulled to certain areas with certain details and information, along with other specific predictions you're not going to want to miss today, friends. And this is just some of what you're going to hear today. Humanity is about to witness very strange, off-the-wall, odd, normal activities when it comes to both weather, or even more so with earthquakes and volcanic activity. Now Spirit pulls me up to Ireland, and I'm near Ireland, and I feel big storms coming towards Ireland with major earthquakes that cause crack fault lines along California. Very, very large earthquake. Major floods, roads turn into rivers. Small areas being evacuated outside or in Sicily. I'm pulled to Libya. I feel a great shaking coming to Libya. Major earthquake. Streets of Saudi Arabia completely flooded. I feel this energy flowing up from here, affecting all these areas as we pointed to South Africa. But again, I feel like I'm down here, Argentina. I feel like something major is happening along that coastline in the way of earthquakes. I feel like there's something very, very big stirring right here in the Pacific Ocean. That, to me, would be what would end up unleashing tsunami waves. Thailand, rescues happening in Thailand due to massive storms that come in between both, all the way down here in Singapore, all the way up to Thailand. Lots of big things are happening there. Beautiful friends, beautiful souls. I hope that you're having an amazing day today. If you're new here, my name is Joseph Tittel, aka Spiritman JT. We welcome you with infinite love and gratitude to the tribe. If you want to vibe with the tribe, you want accurate predictions, prophecy, and truth, do not forget to smash that subscribe, hit the bell, followed by all, so that you hopefully get the notifications every time I post something new or anytime we go live. Also, down below, you'll find the description to all my social media. You can find me on Rumble, Spotify, my Subscribe Star Awaken Your Spirit community of supporters who them, along with the members down below, and other supporters and contributions to this channel make this free content possible for everybody else. And we appreciate you with infinite love and gratitude. So, also down below, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. Friends, it's free. When you open it up, go to the top, you'll see how to subscribe, or you can subscribe directly on my website where you can find my upcoming classes, personal sessions, and so much more. josephtittel.com or spiritmanjt.com. So in today's broadcast, I break it down into three categories, starting with my channeled predictions, focused mainly and completely on weather, asking my master guide and other guides to show me visions to share with you. Secondly, we're going to go into map scrying, and then we'll finalize today's broadcast with other specific predictions, information, and hurricane names to keep an eye out for. This is part one, the channeled predictions for the weather from July 2024 till January 2025. I begin my journey along the east coast of the United States in South Carolina as I see myself on the beach and I see the storm waves whipping up. Stronger and stronger. I see the beach begins to erode. I turn, I walk towards the streets, and the water's up to past my ankles in the streets. This would have to be the aftermath of a tropical storm or even a severe hurricane. As I walk through the streets, I see trees down, wires down, even cars along the coastline that are flipped onto their side. Whatever comes blowing in like never before. And I feel like this is just the edge, like the edge of something. The edge of something moving up. Oh, that's separate. I see separate. First, I see this. Looks like a direct hit as I stand on the beaches along South Carolina. But I feel like there's another that comes, but just the edge hits. And it heads up the coastline, coming in closer towards Delaware. Even in Philadelphia. Storms that hit to cause millions to lose their power. The month of October comes up very strongly, and also look for the date around October 11th for a significant huge weather or earth event to occur. 10/11. Now I'm still on the east coast of the United States when I am standing on the edge of Ellis Island where the Statue of Liberty is. And again, I see darkness coming in very, very quickly from the oceans and the waters. I see the surf getting higher and the waves getting higher. And then the wind begins to blow ever so strongly. I walk through the streets of New York as the winds are blowing ever so strongly, things blowing all over the road and even things blowing into glass windows and breaking it. And to point where I see floods and water flowing down into the subway system. This feels like a direct hit from some storm, likely a hurricane. Now Spirit pulls me up to Ireland, and I'm near Ireland, and I feel big storms coming towards Ireland, especially along the coastline. When folks are told to evacuate areas, they should take that very, very seriously. I even see animals running across the field, fleeing from the coastlines of what's coming. Farm animals. Bad storms hit ever so strongly, and I'm also pulled directly into Dublin, where I feel lots of issues will hit that area, including preparing for long-term blackouts, power outages. Now I step over to Southern California, down in the South Point towards the tip, kind of almost near Mexico along the border. I feel big waves again coming from the Pacific, especially heading more towards Southern California. I feel like many multiple events are going to come to California, that they will be battered quite hard over the next year. Beginning with major earthquakes that cause crack fault lines along California. A very, very large earthquake. Again, I'm pulled to the time period of October. Whether October is a time of this earthquake hitting California or something else in California around October. California is also going to get a severe blast of cold weather during the winter months, bringing along with it many feet of snow that will leave people stranded and needed to be rescued. Heading into the worst winter in places in Northern California and Washington, up to Washington. Prepare for the winters. They will be rough. They will break records. Also beware of a warmth that comes in after feet of snow fall. That quickly melts everything, bringing in rains that cause cliff sides to fall, major floods, roads turn into rivers, and pulled towards the new year in around February of 2025. But I would expect things to flare up quite a bit in the month of December globally. Odd, strange weather occurrences come as the year comes to a close. Places where temperatures change 50 degrees within minutes. Also see hurricane type storm coming in much later than normal. coming in out of hurricane season, or on the edge of the ending of hurricane season. This very likely may be the hurricane and the big storm or tropical storm that hits directly towards the Statue of Liberty in New York City. But even Boston will have its hands full, all along that coast from New York City straight up, even parts of northern New Jersey. Prepare for a tough season. Look for many great shakings connected to the month of August in earthquake activity and even volcanic activity, as a silent volcano suddenly becomes active and bursts from the top. Very unexpected event talked about in your news media all over the world. Even activity flaring up around Mount St. Helens, and Mount St. Helens will blow again within the next year. That activity may also come in the month of August of 2024. Expect at least 3 major earthquakes in the month of August, major, causing great devastation like that hit Turkey in January of 2023. I'm in Cairo, Egypt. And I'm along the edge of Cairo, outside, in between a small outside city or town. And this is where I feel the epicenter is of a quake that's coming soon to the Cairo area, which will even cause damage to some of the monuments. I see people fleeing the homes, going into the streets. This even causes some type of problem at one of their airports, temporarily closing down one of their airports. Humanity is about to witness very strange, off-the-wall, odd, normal activities when it comes to both weather, or even more so with earthquakes and volcanic activity, as things begin to ignite, not just below the Ring of Fire, but even in places like Yellowstone Park, where there will be temporary closures due to shakings that come. Earthquakes, a swarm of earthquakes coming to the area. Everything will be fine, nothing major in the Yellowstone area, but around the Ring of Fire, major activity causing massive earthquakes in places like Indonesia, northern Japan, an earthquake that causes some of their mountains to experience rock slides. I'm towards a volcano that sits towards, say, mid Japan, a very large volcano. I see a little bit of smoke puffing out, but then I see it blow. And that blow is what triggers a series of earthquakes, not just in Japan, but China as well. China being the country that may actually experience the brunt of the most devastation when it comes to earthquakes between now and the end of 2024. One large earthquake takes down a very tall building and a big city. Not sure what country I'm in. I could be back in Egypt. I see problems around the areas of both Italy and Greece, especially when this ignition of the Ring of Fire and other activity beneath the earth flares up in the months of August into September, and then the end of the year in the month of December. These are the times to look closely at. Look for the full moon on the 21st or around the 21st. That will be a significant time for one of these massive 7.0 earthquakes to hit. A shallow that brings devastation. The folks of Indonesia, I feel like the whole area of Indonesia, all the surrounding areas, and even countries that share coastlines are going to experience so many shakings and flare-ups of volcanic activity. This would be the place, including especially the Philippines, to be aware of incoming tsunamis. Take the warnings very serious. Even though there may be several warnings, 3 to 4 that will pass with no problem, but you must take the latter warning very seriously. I'm spread out between the country Colombia, stretching down to Peru. Spirit takes me beneath the tectonic plates, between this area of South America. I feel like look for major activities in these areas with earthquakes more towards the end of the year. Even along the Caribbean islands will experience major earthquakes, as the Caribbean islands are going to be battered and dodging many, many major storms coming up over the next 6 months. Some will luck out, most will not. While dealing with floods in the aftermath of tropical storms and hurricanes, in comes an earthquake, an activity that brings swarms of earthquake to the whole line of the Caribbean. The northern tip of Puerto Rico, beware. Earthquake that brings in a call for help. All those areas are going to rattle over the next year or within the next year. Haiti, even Jamaica. Most minor, but several will be major. One reminds me of the quake that hit Haiti many, many years back. Something like that is coming back to that same area. August 5th pops out in my mind. August 5th. Not sure why, but beware. Again, any warnings, definitely seize warnings. In around the area of Italy and Greece, I see a great volcanic eruption closer to Greece, within Greece. Small areas being evacuated outside or in Sicily. And Spirit says, pay very close attention to the 3 volcanoes, for they will alert you of a major quake coming soon after the 3rd becomes active. 3 very significant, all within, say, 100-mile radius of each other. Spirit shows me activity in the plates beneath the Atlantic Ocean as well. Earthquakes come into areas of Africa, including Kenya. South Africa needs to be aware of major storm systems coming in. I see trees literally bent over, ready to split in half from the high winds that are whipping in from the south or hitting the south. Dealing with more floods, and Spirit says the next floods will be much worse than your previous. In turn, be prepared that this could bring a period of looting and people looting and stealing from others, trying to take the floods and the storms to their own and greedy advantage. I'm pulled to Libya. I feel a great shaking coming to Libya. Major earthquake causes things to tumble down. The rain gods are going to batter down on the Middle East in the near future. Deserts turn completely into rivers and raging rivers. Streets of Saudi Arabia completely flooded. Saudi Arabia must be warned of the signs that come from the God above. Manipulating things and manipulating the earth around them is going to bring them much karma. Floods so bad that take dams out. I see a complete big dam bursting. I'm seeing a vision of what looks like storm radar. And I see a big storm, a hurricane that's coming in that looks like it's coming towards, breezing up along the Key West, Florida, but coming in more towards the very tip of Florida. Coming right in up towards Miami, Fort Lauderdale. Major issues. Then I see a vision as if I'm in a helicopter looking and flying along the beaches, which is something I'm sure we're going to see in the news in the future. As we go in this helicopter along the coastline, I see nothing but just complete devastation, like a big conflict took place. Beach erosion, bringing the ocean closer to the beach line, shortening the size of Florida. There will be a point where there's a record amount of storm systems developing both in the Atlantic and in the Pacific at the same time. It looks like 3 very big significant storm systems on the Pacific side, while on the Atlantic side it appears like there's like 6 to 7 storm systems all forming. 3 of those will be hits. There'll be a very significant volcanic eruption in Iceland in a new area, new territory, followed or around the same time by a large volcanic eruption in Alaska, outside or near Anchorage, closest to Anchorage. When these volcanoes erupt, prepare for another great shaking. Not just of the earth in earthquakes, but some other world event that shakes up the people. I feel this earthquake's happening somewhere in between the two volcanic eruptions, but slightly below. Beware that Spirit shows that one of these major earthquakes that are coming, I believe the one that's coming to California, Spirit says beware that the aftershock that comes will be much, much worse and larger. The first hit, many small hits, and then another major hit. Beware. This includes areas of Japan and again off the coast of Fukushima where I see that activity flared up. I also see not far off the coast of Japan, underwater volcano. I see an underwater volcano right off the coast of Japan, say maybe a couple 100 miles from the coast of where Fukushima is, for example. And Spirit shows me this volcano slowly beginning to become active. I would imagine that when this does blow, we are going to hear and see the results as it boils up out of the Pacific Ocean. This occurs, this will bring another major earthquake to the area. Beware. Take the tsunami warning seriously. It shows me something that's going to occur beneath the Pacific. Something so large that it does send many, many large waves to many coastlines. A lot of those coastlines will luck out due to the distance and will not cause a major tsunami, but they will have issues with big waves hitting their shorelines, injuring some on the beaches, taking some with it. But Spirit shows me visions of many different coastlines all being hit with the tsunami wave. So this must be happening deep out in the Pacific where it's affecting many areas. Again, I feel like I'm closer to Japan, Indonesia, on that side of the Pacific, but still towards the center, so still affecting even the west coast of the United States and everywhere. I do feel that the waves in Hawaii won't be that bad, but will still be effective. Hawaii's volcano is active, but that volcano will slow down, and soon after a big blow will come. This will cause cancellations of airlines, small evacuations in some areas, and a lot of other concerns as the lava begins to pour towards the water, causing even more concern. Its effect will not be a positive effect once it reaches the waters. I hope you found that to be very interesting, to say the least, and if you did, I got even more interesting still ahead for you. And again, if you're new here and you're not familiar with my work and how things can come into fruition, sometimes past predictions will come up again, either with more detail or often because they're really on our doorsteps. They're about to come into fruition. So putting pieces together from past predictions can help us with present and future predictions as well. So in this next piece, I use the Google Maps and I go into a state of trance, a different state of trance than laying back because I have my eyes opened, of course. Scrying is a method that was said to be used by Nostradamus and many other psychics and prophets in the past. Scrying was originally done by our ancestors on what was called a black mirror. And often they would take a piece of black obsidian, shine it and polish it shiny, and use that as their black mirror for scrying. You need a good size to be able to scry into. You can't just scry into a little tiny thing. You need a black background usually as well. Now, I'm scrying, I'm gazing at a map, so it's a little different. But if you're gazing looking for future events, like in a crystal ball, it should have a black background. Often they would even use black obsidian bowls and fill them with water, the black bowl of water, or any black bowl of water. You could try this at home yourself and gaze into it in a trance state until visions and things begin to appear on the black mirror. That's the method of scrying. That is what I'm about to do here with the map and Google Maps. Getting pulled to certain areas and hopefully getting more details to help us put the pieces together. Remember, your comments are always important, and any information or pieces that you think go together, do let us know down below in the comments. And thank you for clicking that thumbs up love button. Towards the edge of Argentina, and I am focused right along here for whatever reason. Santa Cruz, Providence, this whole tip of Argentina, and even over here in the edge of Chile, I feel like major earthquake activity. To the point in the future where we may even witness a crack beginning to form down the very tip of South America. I see major storms sweeping across, especially in this whole area right here between the Caribbean all the way over here to Mexico and all the way down to Costa Rica. Pulling in even closer, I see many issues with massive flooding taking place in around Panama. Panama dealing with mudslides and other major issues. And this must be from one particular storm that sweeps across this area of the globe, coming across, and I feel like they're getting hit from two different directions. First, from over here to the right, from the Pacific. But I also feel something sweeping up here that affects this whole area of the tip of South America, likely hurricane related, touching down right along Caracas, Venezuela, this tip of Venezuela, and coming right up towards Puerto Rico and Cuba both. Something really big in this area, so big that it takes up the whole area, which would have to be a hurricane of massive size of some sort. Sweeping up, and it's coming from over here, and it's sweeping up and over and under and in between the two. Probably touching down between Louisiana and Texas. Speaking of Texas and Louisiana, New Orleans, especially this whole tip right here. What is this in New Orleans? So I see a lot of flooding coming in around this area and some other problems in this area with environment and environmental disasters, which could involve some type of oil spill in this area between, say, this little coast right here off the edge of New Orleans, but also off the edge of Houston as well. I'm also seeing visions of tons of beach erosion that occur over here in these areas as well, including all the way over here in Florida, touching up near Panama City, Oklahoma. And I've been pulled to Oklahoma in the past, especially right there in Oklahoma City. And again, I feel like a shaking's coming to this area, a great shaking, which would be a major earthquake that would affect everything, including structures and, of course, the people. We're going to see a swarm of earthquakes coming across the United States, and over the next 6 months, we're going to see an increase in the magnitude of these earthquakes between sweeping up all the way along the west coast of the United States, including problems with earthquakes between San Francisco and Los Angeles both. Los Angeles is going to have its hands full in the near future, not only with weather events and earthquakes that cause damage, but major floods, including a hit by a storm that's like a typhoon or a hurricane coming in between Los Angeles and San Diego both. But this whole coastline feels very rocky to me, especially right off the coastline over here towards the Pacific beyond these islands, which makes me feel that we can end up seeing an earthquake off the coast of California in the Pacific, right in this area right here. Right in this area that would be enough to cause big waves to hit both the coast of California down to Baja California, and even to parts of Hawaii, getting the remnants of these waves. But something big, something very big is happening right here underneath the Pacific Ocean. Things are stirring up. Things are stirring up. And Spirit says you can't imagine the amount of volcanoes that we don't see that are beneath this area here. This whole area is loaded with underground volcanoes. And I see the flow of the magma beneath the sea, beneath the ocean flowing. Spirit shows me this activity happening right here in this area, right near this little island. And I do see islands, as I've seen in the past, begin to sink. Islands disappear. They're taken off the maps completely. Marshall Islands, how about that? I didn't know that was there. So yeah, right around the Marshall Islands, I feel like there's something very, very big stirring right here in the Pacific Ocean. That to me would be what would end up unleashing tsunami waves. So the Marshall Islands is likely the area of my visions of seeing islands going beneath and going below. Between the Marshall Islands and down here in the Tonga, some major stuff's going to happen in this area, and this will unleash, when it all starts to unleash, will unleash tsunami waves. Fortunately, by the time many of them reach across the ocean, they'll be very small and minimal in size. But as I get pulled up towards this way, Spirit shows me not only down there at the Marshall Islands and down here, but all the way up in this area, which we can see under the ocean right there. There's something going on right there in that little flow, not far off the coast. Well, I mean, that's probably far, actually, the Philippine Sea here. I was going to say off the coast of Japan. It's not really off the coast of Japan. But down here, right below, diagonally from that whole line right there. I'm pulled to this. I'm pulled to this activity. And then as I zoom in on Japan, I see something big happening, something big blowing. I see some kind of cloud floating above this area of Japan. I would imagine that perhaps this would be volcanic related, because we are focused on weather and getting information about weather events. Not to mention that this whole bottom area is going to experience this major earthquake activity as this here down below flares up. This whole area, this whole circle right here is flaring up along the Pacific and along the Philippine Sea. This is what I am pulled to be the biggest concern and worry. Something potentially so large right out here in the center that it sends a vibration of tsunami waves in all directions, hitting places like this part of Japan right here, of course, Taiwan. And again, by the time they reach, they'll be much smaller. It won't be so close, but it will still be quite effective. Now, this may not all be within 2024. I'm pulled into 2025 as well. But also in the month of July, I feel like something's happening up here, right around Japan. I'm pulled to this whole area. Even out to the Sea of Japan in that little center area. And I see plumes of smoke coming from Japan. I can't identify exactly what that is other than maybe volcanic activity. Gases being released into the skies. I have a vision as I do this, seeing people evacuate from an area as it's shaking in Japan. And Tokyo will get some shakings as well. Japan's in for quite a bit of struggles, both with weather, but I do not see Japan going into the ocean as some folks believe, accordance to Edgar Cayce and other prophecies. I don't see that happening now, but I do see parts of Japan sinking in. And I would believe it would be this area of Japan down here in this little island area, which I believe is where all the volcanoes are anyway. Whereas people closer up and up to this area where it says Japan on the map would be more safer in that area. Now, I predicted a big earthquake for Taiwan, and that did happen within the past year. I can't remember when, but I'm getting pulled to there again, seeing more shakings coming to Taiwan. Taiwan, and right over here, what's over here? Hong Kong. Oh, something's happening here. Let's zoom out a little bit. Big earthquake right along this area. Again, we may not see that. South China Sea. China's in for so many big surprises. The Spirit shows me visions of China being like a giant sinkhole and everything sinking in on itself. This includes even their climate and the damage that they have caused to the climate. Soon, the spirits are going to shake this area of the globe greatly. Not just in the way of weather, but also in the way of, world events and such. I see something big happening right around this area of the globe. This whole circled area between Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the edge of China. A big earthquake. I feel like something so big that it affects all of those areas. It affects Pakistan, Afghanistan, and parts of China. but I feel like it's rattling in China itself, somewhere way above Tibet in this area here. When I look at Madagascar, I see visions of floods. I see animals running for safety. I see some type of big thing hitting this area of Madagascar and rumbling into this area, this point of Africa. And speaking of Africa, South Africa, this area of the globe seems to be an area that is continuously getting pounded on with energies that are flowing up from the Arctic. So therefore, I see bizarre weather taking place in parts of Africa, especially around Cape Town, other parts of Africa, all the way up into Namibia. Did I say that right? Floods, even in Johannesburg. And I know they already have problems with power and electricity, but I feel like there's nothing going on, that it's complete darkness. Be prepared for complete darkness for a long period of time. Not only that, Africa and the whole continent, the lower continent of Africa here, is going to experience odd, abnormal, or over the normal earthquake activity. Big earthquake activity. The crack that already goes through Africa as a fault from a previous earthquake is going to break even more. And we'll see that within the next year. But I even see snow in parts of Africa, and I see them like wiping snow, and like they don't know what they're doing because they're so not used to that. And they're all with their hands up in the air like, this doesn't happen here, this doesn't happen here. Not only that, when I get pulled to that, Spirit shows me the Sahara Desert and tells me that, yeah, there will be snow there again. Which I predicted a long time ago, and people said that was crazy, and it did happen. Well, Spirit shows me it's going to become more common. So when I am pulled more to the western side of Australia, I have to tell them to be aware of coming fires and coming wildfires within the new year. I'm also pulled to this whole circle of area between South Australia, Northern Territory, and Western. This whole circle, so I'm not sure what's going on there or what's actually there. What is actually there? Well, show me. Looks like a bunch of deserts and mountains to me. Is that what's there? No people? Something's going on there. And I see a lot of flooding between both Western Australia and even Queensland. More towards this part of Australia between Queensland and New South Wales, Sydney, Brisbane, lots of flooding activity going on there. And Spirit says when the Solomon Islands begin to shake greatly right below Papua New Guinea, be aware for another big earthquake will hit the eastern side of Australia. Probably up again in this area of Queensland. Means that seems to be closest to the epicenter of where this is happening. Spirit says Solomon Islands right below Papua New Guinea, so I would think that'd be right around here somewhere. Something to watch out for. Solomon Islands is another place where I have a vision of all this geography changing in the future over the next less than a decade by the turn of the century in 2030. And some of this land's going to rise out, like this little piece here, rising out of the water, becoming larger, while other areas like over here sink. Even parts of this area of Queensland in the future, down in the future, will sink when the major earthquakes hit this area. Spirit says you'll know when you see so many volcanoes going off all at the same time in this area, which has never happened before and never has been recorded. That will be your warning. Thailand, rescues happening in Thailand due to massive storms that come in between both, all the way down here in Singapore, all the way up to Thailand. Lots of big things are happening there. We were talking about the earthquake activity up here between, in China mainly, bringing in Afghanistan and Pakistan, so this area. But I'm also pulled very strongly to India. I feel like India is going to have a change to their land in some way in the near future. A change in their land, which would make me think again, an earthquake doing some kind of geographical change to the land, or unless some kind of storm takes out part of it. It doesn't seem like huge, like all of India is sinking into the ocean or anything, But it does feel really significant in the aspect of showing us that the geography of our Earth is changing. Go back to the US, it's a series of earthquakes coming to the United States, all the way up to Canada. Now remember, in my last map scrying, I was pulled to this area of Washington where we are now seeing major activity taking place. Vancouver Island and right off here in the coast. It even sent one of the tsunami buoys dropping. Didn't send tsunami warnings, but close, next, one stage away from sending tsunami warnings. 2 stages away from being an actual tsunami. And remember, Spirit telling us major things are igniting down here in California, all the way up to the British Columbia. So this whole west coast of North America is in for it. And this could be very likely where we're going to see one of these tsunami waves hitting in the future. Mostly hitting areas where one of these tsunamis that comes, Spirit shows me over here, is hitting areas where there's not really people. So that's a good thing. Where it's like not affecting infrastructure. That would be related somehow to also up here in Alaska. Where Anchorage, Alaska, right above Anchorage, Alaska, will experience one of their largest earthquakes on record. Breaking records from what happened in, I believe, the 1950s. We'd have to look back on that, but that's kind of what I'm getting from Spirit. So as I was saying before, I feel this energy flowing up from here, affecting all these areas as we pointed to South Africa. But again, I feel like I'm down here, Argentina. I feel like something major is happening along that coastline in the way of earthquakes. But also a flow of storms, because I see this flow of storms heading over here. So what we got here? Is this Brazil? Yes. So all this area of Brazil. I see lots of big storms coming in, even down here in Uruguay. Did I say that right? Heading up. Just so many floods, and Spirit says they've been inundated by a lot of floods, but it's going to get much worse. Some areas of those who live along the waters are going to have to evacuate, not to return, because it's only going to keep continuing. Every time you return, it's just going to continue to flood. I see some type of, over here in Chile in this area, I see some type of a mining accident or a mining accident where it collapses, and I believe this is due to an earthquake. And it could be a mine that's somehow shared between Chile and Argentina, because I'm pulled between both those areas. But I feel like we're going to hear about an earthquake that causes a mining incident, causing likely miners to be trapped inside. Spirit said in the channeled messages that the deserts would become flooded, especially the area over here near Saudi Arabia. I see plumes of smoke in a vision coming from this whole area, especially between Yemen, Yemen and Oman. So I don't know what that is, if that's weather related or if it's related to some kind of major fires. I feel like this is spreading mainly from Yemen and maybe even spreading over to Saudi Arabia in some form or another. Flooding, we're going to see the deserts getting flooded in all areas, even in places like Egypt. They're going to be experiencing major flooding. Even in the areas of the pyramids where tourists won't be able to access certain areas due to the sudden torrential rains that come out of nowhere. Now we know Turkey had a very big earthquake that was in my predictions in the past. Was that earlier this year? That was last year. But I'm back pulled to Turkey. And I keep hearing Spirit just saying, back to Turkey. Where is that on this map? I told you I'm geographically challenged. That's not it. Is that Turkey? So another huge major quake coming between Turkey and Syria as well. But even Israel is going to experience some shakings when it comes to earthquakes that cause damage to some of the ancient structures and even a small crack in one of the walls that surround Israel. We'll see that more towards the end of 2025 into 2026. I see a lot of activity happening all around Greece, all down in this area of the Mediterranean Sea. I feel like things are becoming very active. All the way over here between Turkey, Cyprus, all the way up to Italy. I'm more lower Italy, not so much up in Florence. I'm more down here near Rome, but even more so down towards the end. So I'm actually more pulled to Greece than I am Italy, and I feel like what the earthquake that's hitting here in this area will happen when the volcanoes send the warning. And I know there's volcanoes going off in that area now. So let's see what Spirit says about that. It's when the volcanoes send a warning. So when the volcanoes send a warning, there'll be 3 all right next to each other, all within the same arena. That will already ignite an earthquake that'll be of significant size, for example, say 6.0 to 6.5. But that'll just be the beginning. There'll be a much, much larger one that will come soon after, the 7.0 or higher. That will be the one that will cause shakings, especially in the areas of Greece, but also this lower area. Rome's just having little shakings. I don't feel like there's no big worries for that right now in the near future. And as I focus over here on this area of the globe, I get pulled to the winter months, even though we're not that far from the winter, believe it or not. We're halfway through the year. I feel like this is a bad area when it comes to the winter months. Bad area, especially Germany. I feel like they have their hands full. This whole area of the globe just feels like they're going to get plundered with severe cold weather. And even in areas where they're not used to cold weather, I see that as a plum of cold coming down. It's coming down. So, it's coming down from, say, Iceland, Greenland. This cold's wiping over the United Kingdom all the way down. It's pulling down towards Italy, where they're going to have, record cold temperatures during certain time periods. We likely will see this as early as the month of December, because things will be crazy in December, especially with weather. Weather times to really pay attention to, of course, are going to be the months of August, October, and December. Big, big time periods. I told you it gets more and more interesting as you continue sticking with us in this program today with the weather predictions. So I did weather predictions back in March or early April. And so some of those things were still waiting to come into fruition. And perhaps I got some more information about those particular predictions today. But I want to cover these, put them back on the table because they are still on the table to happen. So first starting with Spirit saying way back in April, March is actually when I did the meditation. I think it was posted in April. The biggest and huge earth and weather events are going to occur between August through October. And again, I said this back in March. And I probably said it in January for the world predictions for 2024. Something that United States is something that's going to cause a delay in the elections in the United States. I've said it. Spirit says it's still on the table. Perhaps multiple events, actually. Some being weather related, one being a major earthquake, and other events. But a big shaking coming related to a weather and earth disaster in the United States. And that could even happen in July, but I'm really pulled again, August through October, and I'm thinking the big hit is going to be in October. Spirit showed me this vision as if I was a scuba diver, right? And I'm scuba diving all the way down into the depths of the ocean where man can't access. No man can access it. So I'm way down there, right? And I feel the water around me all of a sudden starts literally vibrating, and I can feel the vibration, and I can see the ripples rippling around me from the water down deep down in this ocean when I was having this vision. And then I'm gazing even deeper down into the underwater to the mountainside. And then I see the vibration become stronger and stronger before I see this crack begin to widen down at the ocean's bottom. I see part of this underwater mountainside begin to collapse like a mudslide. The water gets warmer and warmer, and I see steam and large bubbles coming out from this large crack beneath the ocean. And I think I'm pretty sure I'm in the Pacific Ocean with this. And all of a sudden, my vision shut down. That's all I had. So something big happening there. Now, the east coast of Japan and our friends in Japan, where that 2011 quake hit in the tsunami, which was in my predictions way back then. I became quite popular to our friends in Japan because of that prediction back in 2011. That was my 2011 world predictions. And that back then I only did predictions once a year for the New Year's. So a little north from where the 2011 hit, I see concerns between Fukushima and Tokyo, but closer to Tokyo, Japan. Japan's going to be hit hard, very hard, in 2024 and early 2025 by some type of an Earth event that is going to ignite humanitarian efforts to assist in their aftermath. Now, Spirit's telling me this now. That's going to be the same case for United States, calling for humanitarian efforts. And then even having big concerts afterwards, big concerts where the musicians come together to raise money for these disaster events that are heading to both United States and Japan. Spirit's showing me this all right now. Also, there will even be artists who come together in the art world to raise money for humanitarian efforts. And I said that back in my January world predictions for the year, that we would see big humanitarian things coming to the table and coming to the forefront. And we haven't even begun to see that yet, like we're going to in the near future. We're also going to see another large volcanic eruption spewing from beneath the sea, while tsunamis, most being small tsunamis, thankfully will be a common event in 2024. And we haven't seen any yet this year, so common event in 2024. And I'm even feeling some type of a strange event occurring in the Atlantic Ocean, closer to Africa. And then also I see another Icelandic volcanic eruption, and Mount Kilauea will also blow again. Now remember, I wrote that back in March. Mount Kilauea definitely started to erupt again, but not majorly. And we saw the Iceland eruption earlier in the year, but Spirit says there's another one. You heard it in the channel. I don't know if it was in the channeled piece or the scrying piece, but you heard it. So there's still more to come to those areas. Even back in March, I said China was going to get hit really, really hard with earthquakes and weather events. I saw something hitting big near Beijing, China, along with dealing with more severe flooding in China that causes at least 2 dams to burst. China's going to lose an important bridge that will be shut down due to damage. Also, I see part of China come like a big sinkhole or something in China, like something sinking in China. I don't know what it is, but it's really strange to me. I see a volcanic eruption in the United States. I've said this in the past, and I really truly believe that's going to be Mount St. Helens. But don't be completely alarmed. Also, when there are wide-range power outages, friends, because this is going to be something that happens globally. In my 2024 world predictions, Spirit said solar maximum in 2024 and 2025, which in turn is going to bring some major ascension light codes along with affecting several grids and satellites. So we have to keep our eye to the sky, specifically on the sun's activity. And Spirit says we will have a short warning that this is coming to the planet. And if you're facing that direction, that Earth is facing that direction and you're on that part of the Earth, beware. Have backup power. Flooding in Greece. I see 2 major flooding events coming to New York City and New York. First, the northern parts. Now, late summer and the fall months is when to expect the most significant weather and earth events affecting the entire globe. Many will experience extremely early snowfall. And in the near future, we will once again see snow in the Sahara Desert. So I said that back in March, but that was in the channel prediction too today, Spirit said. And I also remind you that of my visions and my predictions for San Francisco. If you remember, I had visions of the Golden Gate Bridge swinging back and forth. And Spirit said that San Francisco Bridge would be shut down for major repairs after some type of weather event, which I'm pretty sure is going to be an earthquake. Now, if we go all the way back to my channeled predictions from November of last year, you'll remember that Spirit told us that there was going to be a large volcanic eruption in the United States. And I figured that that's likely Mount St. Helens, Or perhaps a larger one in Alaska, perhaps actually both, because Alaska is still part of the United States. But when I first got that, I meant right here in North America, not up there. But now I'm thinking, no doubt, it's going to be both. And not only that, I'm also clear that there's going to be interruptions from this, interruptions of air travel and all kinds of interruptions. So be aware of that and be ready and alert for this. I'm not sure, again, the specific location, but I'm pretty sure that it's Mount St. Helens. And I do assure you it's not Yellowstone National Park. Yellowstone National Park is going to be shut down several times, one due to flooding events and such. But even more significant is the lava or magma coming up through the cracks that I see. And I had visions of this in the past, even igniting fire and forcing them to have to shut things down for a while. They might try to keep this as a cover-up at first, but they're not going to be. You can't cover up anything anymore, friends. We're in a time with everything that's aligning coming up where truth is coming out. You can't lie anymore. And you can, but you're just going to get caught. Don't matter. It's going to come out one way or another. I also see rescue efforts taking place to relocate people after a volcanic eruption. And Spirit told me twice. And I believe this is one of them is within the United States, one of the ones in the United States. On the West Coast, from, say, Northern California up to Washington and even up into Alaska, I see the Ring of Fire will become very active, and not just coming up soon, but over the next few years. In turn, we are going to see multiple eruptions in the United States. I see activity rising around both Mount Hood and the Three Sisters volcanoes. Spirit says to keep an eye on both Mount St. Helens and Mount Rainier as well. Much sooner, we will see a large eruption in Hawaii. So that would be our first sign, friends, is to look for the bigger eruption of Hawaii and expect the others to come after. Massive eruptions in Indonesia. That's going to bring about a huge earthquake, likely tsunami as well, damaging buildings and major evacuations. And even more so, we are going to witness more and more underwater volcanoes erupting like we saw in Japan earlier this year, with activity around Japan and China both igniting greatly. 2 huge blasts will shoot from beneath the sea in the near future. This is what's really adding to the rising ocean temperatures. That's what's doing it, Spirit says. And they might probably have technology to know, but we can't go down that deep, so we don't know until it starts bubbling to the surface. Spirit says to watch for a large blast beneath the ocean that will be followed by a series of weather and earth events. So that's the other important thing, friends. We got to watch for this one large underwater blast because Spirit said it's going to be followed by a series of other weather events, starting with a large quake along the closest shoreline from the blast in the ocean. So we have to wait till it happens before we can actually see what coastline we're talking about, and I'm sure we'll go live when that happens. Also, watch for tropical systems that are going to develop afterwards, after this eruption in the ocean in the same sea. And I see big storms across both China and Japan, bringing about great floods and record snowfalls and higher elevations. This goes for both the Australians and United States West Coast. And all these places, we're going to see severe flooding. The next year is going to be a doozy. This year is just the warm-up, friends. And we ain't even warmed up yet. We haven't even stepped. It's just now on our doorsteps, right? So I believe that between August and October is that there's going to be that large awaited quake that hits California. Now, it could be still in July, but I'm still thinking August. And not just California, but Washington State, all the way up there, as I said in my last map scrying on the last weather video back in March or April. Let's go back and check that out. I was pulled to that area, and right now, Vancouver, that whole little island, is very active, just as I pointed to in that video back in March. Pointing right to it. And that's exactly what's active. So, yeah, we're there, friends. We're getting there. Getting to these things. These things happening. So, Washington, both. I see these locations being hit around the same time. One off the coast, and that's where they were, right off the coast, right there off of Vancouver. One off the coast in the Atlantic also, which is going to bring a small tsunami wave. So, I see one off the coast over there on the other side. Sorry, I got that messed up. So I see 3 locations being hit around the same time. Again, one off the coast in the Pacific, not the Atlantic, my bad, which would also bring a small tsunami wave to both the United States West Coast and Hawaii. Conspiracy theorists are going to blame it on weather modification, of course, which could be true. It could be true. But the one that comes, the big shaking, the big earthquake and weather event that comes right around the elections, yeah, that's created, friends. Beware. Especially friends in here in the United States. It's going to be a series of crazy things happening. There's also going to be a series of islands like the Solomon Islands that experiences a huge shifting of the plates below it that literally shift the islands, causing several islands to sink, increasing the size of other islands nearby. I saw a huge tornado back in March hitting near Dallas, I think it was, and we did see that come into fruition. But Spirit showed me another one. Big tornado, and I saw it blowing out windows and buildings, and I felt like I was definitely in Texas, but also near Dallas is where I felt like I was. You know what else came to my mind when it came to large tornadoes was Chattanooga, Tennessee. I don't know what it is, but Chattanooga, Tennessee came to my mind very strongly. And I know they're surrounded by mountains, so I think if it was a tornado, that'd be really odd. I believe it's a tornado. It could be something else, but our friends in Chattanooga need to be aware of upcoming weather events, tornadoes. Maybe even actually a small earthquake hit in Chattanooga. That could also be as well. Another thing I want to talk about real quick before we end off today's broadcast is the hurricanes and the names of hurricanes. So there is, like the year we're in, every year there's a universal number in numerology. So this year we're in the 8 vibration because if you add 22 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4, you got an 8. We're in an 8 year. Numbers, letters add up to numbers as well. And then those letters, you add all the numbers together and you also come up with a number. So therefore, and then you have your own personal number based on your birthday and adding those numbers together. And I'm not doing the whole numerology thing here. I'm just explaining that hurricane names and your name also has a number. Everything has a number vibration to it. So for example, some of the biggest hurricanes that we've had hit the United States have been 9 vibrational storms. Hurricane Sandy in 2012 was a 9 vibration, which also came in on an 11-day. Friends, whenever they tell you something's coming in a storm or weather event on the 11th or 29th of a month, because 9 plus 2 is an 11, both 11 days, you better batten down the hatchets, friends, and take cover, because it's going to be serious. Back when Hurricane Sandy was coming, they said it was going to go up the coast, and I went on social media and told everybody, because I'm from that area, all my friends, Jersey, Pennsylvania. I told them all, you better evacuate. It's going to take a turn and slam right into you because it was coming in on the 29th of a month, October 29th. So I knew it was going to hit land. And it did. And it took a total turn. Right before elections, too, if you remember. The Obama elections. How much? We had no power, and people in Jersey didn't have power for a long time. Hurricane Andrew in 1992 was an 11 vibration. Hurricane Charlie in 2024 was a 9. There's lots of course storms with 4s and 6s. And all numbers count, but these are the numbers that are the most common and the most devastating. Hurricane Janine in 2004 was a 22. Hurricane Wilma in 2005 was a 22. And Hurricane Dennis in 2005 was an 11. So the point is the vibrations of the numbers. And I just want to point out I have both the Atlantic storms here and the Pacific storms. And if you need to know what a name adds up to in numerology, just go online and search Numerology calculator. Numerology name calculator. Numerology birthday calculator. There's a calculator for everything. It'll do it right for you online, friends. So we had Beryl that just came in, and that was an 8 vibration. And as far as the numbers, the past numbers, the 9s, the 11s, and the 22s, we have a whole line of them coming in on the Atlantic side, friends. This is what creeped me out when I saw this earlier this year. I was like, whoa, look at that. We have Joyce coming in as a 22, and I think she's going to be a big one, Joyce. Also, we have right after that, Kurt, who's also a 22. And then we get an 8, which is Leslie. And then we get 2 11s back-to-back, Milton and Nodine. That's odd, friends. 2 22s and 2 11s in a back-to-back. Those are the storms to look out for. Any of them touch land, they are going to be devastating. Again, the names of those storms that are, if they hit land, will be devastating this year are going to be Joyce, Kurt, Milton, and Nodine. Now, the other 9 storm we have is Valerie. She's a 9. And other storms are potential. When storms come, we'll have to look at it. We'll go online. Or Tuesday, we'll all connect and we'll look at the storms like we did with Beryl. But these, based on the numbers, Valerie can be a doozy. And I hear that song, Valerie, in my head. I love that song. Love that song. Now, looking at the Pacific side, there's a lot of 9s. There's Bud and there's Coletta. And I don't know if they had any I'm on the west side, but I didn't notice any storms. But 3 9s in a row, friends. The first storm, Coletta, is a 5. But the first 3 after that, Bud, Corlado, and Daniel. Daniel sounds like a good one. Oh, yeah, Daniel. Daniel going to kick some butt. If they touch land. Another 1 9 is Miriam. She jumped out at me, too, earlier. Oh, and know what other storm jumped out at me? For the west, Xavier. If they get down to the X, which I'm sure they will. Go through the whole alphabet. Xavier. Who's the 7? And I feel like coming up the coast. Xavier coming up the coast. But we'll keep an eye on the hurricanes. But they were some of the numbers I wanted to point out. And again, there's 4s and 6s can be damaging too. So Ernesto is a 6. That's on the Atlantic side. Helen is a 4. Isaac is a 6. Isaac. That just rings a bell strongly to me. Hurricane Isaac. Didn't we have a Hurricane Isaac before? I feel like we did. But they don't rename storms. So maybe I'm having deja vu, friends. Look out for Hurricane Isaac. Woo, look out for Isaac, friends. Look out for Isaac. That really jumped out at me. And that's what I'm going to leave you with for today, friends. That's what I'm going to leave you with. Remember to tune in every Tuesday for weekly predictions and to find out what's going on in the world and how it relates to predictions and prophecy. And we talk about weather almost every Tuesday, so things are always shifting and changing, and we got major weather events heading our way. I very much hope that you enjoyed today's content, and if you did, please, a reminder to show your love. Click that thumbs up love button. It really helps this channel. It helps this information get out to more people. And better yet, sharing is caring, friends. So do share this on your social media. Share it with others. Tell your friends, hey, or in your family, that prediction just came true. Or if you see a storm coming and it's in the predictions, you can tell friends, look, that's predicted. This is what could really happen and probably will happen. So sharing is caring, friends. Thank you to all the supporters who made this free content possible. Your contributions, I greatly appreciate it with infinite love and gratitude. I hope that you stay safe. Remember to stay grounded and connected to the earth. Focus on your blessings and miracles every day, and the more blessings and miracles that will flow into your life. Other than that, friends, I'll see you all on Tuesday's Tittle Tea Time. Remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you. Let your light shine, friends, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste, and much love, friends. Much love.